guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/radio for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
It's that time of year again to replace your old drafty windows and doors. If this sounds like something on your to-do list, then turn to my good friends at Guida Door and Window. Guida will help you save big this fall with their buy one, get one half off sale on all qualifying windows and doors. For every door and window you buy, you get a second one at 50% off. And you can mix and match these savings to suit your own needs. Buy an entry door, get half off a storm door. Buy a patio door, get 50% off a window. Need to replace all the windows and doors in your house? Then you'll save 50% on half your project. The more you need, the more you save. Plus, start your project with no money down and take 18 months to pay it off with no interest. Offers for a limited time only and restrictions apply. So call Guida today to schedule a free no-obligation in-home estimate at 877-GO-GUIDA or visit them at GoGuida.com. That's go, GUIDA.com.
Football fans don't just watch the game, they live it. From pregame rituals to postgame celebrations, PNC is proud to be presenting sponsor of the Eagles Radio Network and a devoted fan just like you. Fans who show up in full force in every kind of weather, because keeping your finances boring allows you to make exciting memories full of face paint, tailgates, and all the things that make game day. PNC Bank, brilliantly boring since 1865. PNC Bank, National Association, member FDIC.
Still spending on search ads, hoping to capture new customers? The truth is, search reaches people who already know your brand and is rapidly being replaced by AI. If you want real growth, you need to get in front of new customers on streaming TV, where attention is high on their favorite programming. Viant has proven technology to reach the right customers on the best programming, delivering real outcomes. Want better results? Visit ViantCTV.com today.
Now you can listen to Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the iHeartRadio app.
So this is an incredible get and an incredible discovery by our own Beth Ann Rossica, who, of course, we've all gotten to know. You've gotten to know her as a local mom, a PhD in education, so technically Dr. Beth Ann Rossica. And so what Dr. Beth Ann Rossica, if I can spit it out, found in what's going on in Pennsylvania is pretty incredible. We've talked a lot about this case of another school district in the country that has had as their superintendent somebody named Ian Roberts, who, and this is Des Moines Public Schools, huge district, and this guy was now disgraced. And the school board out there, he had worked there, and they apparently loved him. They tried to back him. They tried to even, after ICE agents were after him, he tried to allegedly flee the ICE agents, had a firearm and a lot of sketchy situations there. So we did not realize the Pennsylvania connection. Well, leave it to Dr. Beth Ann Rossica, who joins me now, to figure this out. And so you have to see her latest piece, broadandliberty.com, another great get by Beth Ann Rossica. Good morning, Beth. Thanks for coming on and talking about your latest piece in Broad and Liberty.
Thanks, Dawn. Always a pleasure to be here.
Of course. So I want to back into this story by saying that this Ian Roberts, and as you write, now disgraced, I think that's a fair comment to make. And he even received finally the no confidence vote by that Des Moines Public Schools board, that now he's lost his job. He was taken into federal custody and was in possession of, firearms, etc., ID'd by government officials as a quote unquote illegal alien. But this is somebody who you found out was right here in Pennsylvania between 2020 and through June of 2023. He was hired here in PA. And so I want to start there. I'm doing it differently than you did in your investigative report, how you spell it out. But, can you tell us what happened here as far as while Roberts was here in Pennsylvania?
Yes, Dawn, happy to do that. So Ian Roberts was hired by a suburban Erie school district, Mill Creek Township. It's right outside of the city of Erie, a very suburban area. He was hired in 2020 to take on the role of superintendent for that school district. And it's a mid-sized school district, not as large as a lot of our suburban school districts here in the collar counties, but a decent-sized school district with a decent-sized budget. And he was hired there and worked there for 3 years. Interestingly, when he was hired, the school district, the school board, used a consulting firm to do the vetting and the hiring and the background checks and all of those things. It appears that when he was hired, he may have potentially provided false documents to be able to get through the screening process regarding immigration. And it looks like he may have also lied about at least one of his educational degrees. So none of that is confirmed. There are statements on the Mill Creek Township School District site. The first statement that they put out was, sort of shock and dismay and, not really sure what was going on, but that Mill Creek had done everything correctly. And then as more and more news reports came out, they started saying that they were going to look into potentially filing a lawsuit against both the search firm that hired Roberts and potentially try to take some sort of action against Roberts for, basically lying to them at the time of his hiring. So this all happened. He worked at the district for 3 years. And what's interesting is that, he left this Mill Creek district to go and work at Des Moines. So he was there for 3 years. And the timing of him leaving, at least from what I could find, was a little bit circumspect. There was a settlement agreement with the director of human resources who had been at Mill Creek Township. She left or was terminated several months before Roberts ended up leaving, and she made allegations of misconduct and constructive discharge. So it basically sounded like, she had some very big concerns about how she was being treated. And generally speaking, the director of human resources in a school district reports directly to the superintendent. And I couldn't confirm whether that was the case when this person and Roberts were there, but a current Mill Creek Township organizational chart shows the director of human resources reporting to Roberts. So I don't think it's too much of a stretch to believe that this woman who filed this complaint worked for Roberts directly at the time. So the settlement agreement, there's a link included in my article if people want to look at it directly. It was for $250,000,
wow,
which is a fairly large settlement agreement. Obviously, in these types of agreements, the district admits no wrongdoing, but just basically says that, they want to just resolve this as, amicably as possible. So they obviously don't admit that they did anything wrong, but one could infer that if you spent $250,000 to settle a lawsuit, you at least felt like there was some potential, problem with what was going on. So Roberts, as a superintendent, either supervised her or was responsible for resolving these issues. So the fact that the settlement agreement was signed and disclosed days before he left, I found the timing of that quite interesting as well. So he sort of left and then, went over to work in Des Moines and
in Iowa.
In Iowa, right. And the guy, as I looked at his looked, at all the news articles, it looks like he has moved around a lot. He was in New York. I think he was in D.C. He's bounced around a good amount, which in Pennsylvania is a little bit unusual. Mm-hmm. Most superintendents kind of recycle through Pennsylvania school districts. It's not so common that, maybe in a big school district like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, they might try to bring in somebody from the outside. But most of the superintendents in Pennsylvania are local people that, like I said, sort of bounce around from one district to another. So there's definitely, this person lied and, worked in this suburban Erie school district for 3 years, left under what I would consider suspicious circumstances, and then, fled to go to Des Moines. And I certainly can't, hypothesize about, why he was moving around a lot. But,
But Beth Ann, I just want to make the point here that, in other words, this is making huge national headlines right now. And I think there's no question at this point, this individual is, they want to deport him. There was a firearm and cash and passports and so on. And there's a whole lot that we've now learned about this individual. At the time, and you report this in your piece, that many of the people here in Pennsylvania in this particular school district were, oh, heavens to Betsy's, I'm shocked. But there was one individual who was not at all shocked. And he's the focus of who you're talking about, because he is saying that the hiring of that individual, who we now know was in this country illegally, etc., that individual is really part of what I think the subject of your piece saw as a pattern of problems within the school district. And so that's, can we talk about that?
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yep. So it's interesting. The gentleman that you're speaking of, his name is Lou Aliotta. He is a former school board director of Mill Creek Township. He has been very, very active in the school district and in the school board for many, many, many years. And before any of this happened with Ian Roberts, somebody connected me with Lou because they thought that his story was very compelling. And I actually spent multiple hours on the phone with Lou and with his attorney and putting in right to know requests about the Mill Creek Township School District, because what they did to this former school board director is just unbelievable. People will not even believe the story when they read it. I certainly didn't believe it.
Yes. And Beth Ann, I'm going to have to leave it there. We actually have a call in from our Israel expert to talk about yesterday's historic Middle East peace deal and what's happening. Sure. But that's actually a great tease for your piece, because what has happened to this one individual, and if you read about him, you're going to find out that he was the one who had these questions, not just about the situation making national headlines now, but just overall, and a real, what would appear to be a real persecution of somebody who they should have listened to, somebody who was sharp-eyed and had the district's best interest at heart. Beth Ann Rossica, whenever I see one of your pieces, I want to highlight it. I want everybody to go to broadandliberty.com. Beth Ann Rossica, thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Have a great day.
You
Bye-bye.
as well. Thank you. Thank you. So we have Ruthie Bloom up ahead. We are just jam-packed today with incredible news-breaking events and information and interviews. So please stay right there at Dawn Stensland. We're going to be right back.
Hi, this is Merrill Reese. My wife Cindy and I had a new roof installed by Impriano Roofing, Siding, and Windows, and we're delighted. When it comes to your roof, it's like football. Good planning is essential. Jack Impriano and his 4 sons are a true family business, serving our area for over 5 decades. If you need a new roof, call Jack Impriano Roofing. Online at Impriano.com. That's Impriano.com. It's good to hire Jack and his team. Remember, the best homes have an Impriano roof.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. Don't miss Martin Water's 52nd anniversary sale. Celebrate with our biggest savings of the year now through October 31st. $500 off select systems, $100 off a Connecticut K5 drinking station, $40 off UV sterilizers. Enjoy 24-month special financing if qualified. Already own a water conditioning system? Enjoy exclusive offers on salt and filters when visiting one of their central Pennsylvania locations. For details, call Martin Water today or visit martinwater.com Toyota.com. Sale ends October 31st.
It's the perfect time to get inside a new Toyota at Tri-County Toyota. Right now, lease a new 2025 RAV4 LE all-wheel drive for just $309 a month for 36 months. Or buy and get 4.75% financing for 60 months. Or check out a new 2025 Tacoma 4-wheel drive double cab SR5 and lease for $239 a month for 36 months. Or get rates as low as 2.99% for 48 months. Visit us online at TriCountyToyota.com to see more.
Here's a harsh fact. 40% of women and almost 20% of men suffer from varicose or spider veins. And if you think this is just a cosmetic problem, think again. Varicose or spider veins, if left untreated, can lead to swollen or discolored legs, cramping, the inability to stand or walk, neuropathy, even worse, blood clots, which can travel to other parts of your body. But here's the good news. Advanced Medical Vein Treatment Centers offers plans that treat and cure the condition, not just cover up. Grab your phone, take down this number, and call 800-554-3775. That's 800-554-3775. When you call, you'll get free information. Free information on how you can live your life to the fullest again. Walk, exercise, sleep well. Your vein problems will not go away on their own, and in time can lead to major health issues. Call Advanced Medical Vein today for free information on fast and easy solutions that are covered by most insurance plans, Medicare included. Call 800-554-3775. That's 800-554-3775 today.
You deserve the best, and the best pick-me-up is a Tasty Cake treat. Whether you need a quick snack for the kids or a tasty little moment for yourself, we've got something for everyone. Tackle your errands after enjoying delicious crimpets with smooth icing and a perfect cake. And mouth-watering peanut butter candy cakes are just the right size for getting things done on the go. Find all your family's favorites in stores now. Nobody does it better than Tasty Cake, except no substitutes.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Are you tired of online threats? Then get an antivirus. It's the only online protection you will ever need.
Disclaimer: an antivirus is just half protection online. It will not protect you from snoopers or encrypt your traffic. So get better online protection with NordVPN. NordVPN will encrypt your traffic, protect you from malware and phishing, and stop annoying ads. Save 77% on NordVPN and get 3 extra months.
At Virtua Health, we're redefining heart care.
Our heart rhythm team at Virtua is really working at the forefront of technology. There's constantly new advances.
Like cardiac clinical trials and breakthrough treatments for atrial fibrillation.
Treating atrial fibrillation with ablation and treating it early allows for the best outcomes for our patients. We can make a meaningful difference in patients' lives.
Virtua Health, here for complex heart care, here for good. More at virtua.org/here for good.
Hello, it's Lena Dunham. I host a podcast called The C Word with my dearest friend and historian of bad behavior, Alyssa Bennett.
What is up?
It's a chat show about women whose society is called crazy.
We're going to be rediscovering the stories of women society dismissed by calling them mad, sad, or just plain bad.
Listen to and follow The C Word with Lena Dunham and Alyssa Bennett. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Follow Talk Radio 1210 on Instagram and Facebook at 1210 WPHT.
Not only the end of a war, this is the end of an age of terror and death and the beginning of the age of faith and hope and of God. It's the start of a grand concord and lasting harmony for Israel and all the nations of what will soon be a truly magnificent region. I believe that so strongly. This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
Historic dawn of a new Middle East. There are no matinees in the world of Donald J. Trump. President Trump on a Monday Look at what happened on a mundane Monday that he made magnificent. This is so true. As we think about the next steps now of the ceasefire deal, we think about Israel celebrating the release of those live hostages. We celebrated those homecomings yesterday. And as we think about the heartbreak and the heartache, as now a nation and perhaps the world can begin to heal, and perhaps as we pray that at least there will be justice or burials, proper burials for those 28 other hostages who will never come home, but could at least be respected by their bodies or their remains properly being given back to families. And so we wanted to get, the take of our very own expert, if you will, Ruthie Bloom, who, as you've gotten to know Ruthie, award-winning American-Israeli journalist, star of JNS TV, Israel Undiplomatic, former advisor at the office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. You see her all over Newsmax and American television and across the world as we all want to hear her expert analysis on what this means worldwide, if this is a temporary peace or it could be a lasting peace. Ruthie Bloom, it's so good to have you here this morning. Thank you for joining us.
It's so good to be back, even though I've spent the last, 48 hours weeping along with everybody else in the country. It's hard to keep your eyes dry when you see those reunions. It's just, what can I say? And each time I can watch them again and again and start crying again.
Yeah, it's hard. There were, even before they were able to reunite, and we played, all of these yesterday, obviously, but, and just felt like we were there. But even at the moment that you saw mother and father as they were getting the phone call, and even though these are different languages, there's one language, I think, of a parent's heart, breaking for these parents and grandparents and loved ones. You don't need to speak the same language to understand exactly what a parent goes through when they've been praying that their child, will come home. And I think that is universal, and that's what we saw yesterday. I just, and I hope the people of Israel know, and I do hope they know that we all in America, the majority of us, have prayed for what happened yesterday.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, yesterday was a huge day, not only because those hostages came home, but because President Trump arrived in Israel and he addressed the Knesset. And you have never seen a love fest like this in your life, okay? But on both sides, all right? Mm-hmm. Prime Minister Netanyahu also gave an address, and so did the Speaker of the Knesset, Amir Ohana. And Trump, of course, was the last to speak. Yes. He was not only brilliant, he was also funny and relaxed. It was amazing because this was a very, very serious event. Mm-hmm. And yet he was, half the time he was like a stand-up comic. It was really lovely to watch. But here's the trouble. And it's not a trouble with Trump, mm-hmm. and it's not a trouble with this deal. The deal was the best Israel could hope for, because I know that Israel and the Trump administration crafted it together. This wasn't something forced on Israel, as some people are trying to say. The people who are trying to say that are those who claim that Netanyahu either is Trump's lapdog, mm-hmm. or that Trump isn't as pro-Israel as everyone claims, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But that's not true. The only issue I would, let's say, dispute with Trump is that at this moment, peace has erupted across the Middle East. We have not defeated, first of all, Hamas. You're never going to make peace with Hamas. It's a terrorist organization. They're barbaric. What they did, not only to the hostages, but what they've done to their own people, and their, is just, there is no peace with them. As for the rest of the Arab and Muslim world, well, that's a different story. We saw with the Abraham Accords that it is absolutely possible. But what hasn't been accomplished yet is the religious war that is going on against Jews, Christians, and what they call infidel Muslims. That is still alive and well in all of these countries, and sadly, even in Europe and in the United States as well. I mean, the fact that Mamdani might win or is likely to win the mayoral election in New York City just tells you that. So here is where I would say, take a deep breath. Hamas has already violated the deal, already, the first phase, by not returning the 28 bodies, the dead bodies are being held in hostage in Gaza, returned only 4 yesterday. Yes. And now, as a result, the very first phase of this is being put to the test. And what I just heard, before coming on the air was that Israel's response to this is going to be to re-shut down the border between Egypt and Gaza, the Rafah border, because we have to have some way of forcing Hamas to comply with the deal.
And I want to get into something, and that's something that I talked about at the time, that there were critics, and this was back when President Trump had, visited, for example, in Saudi Arabia. They had rolled out that purple royal carpet for him back in the day, and many people said, why is he doing this historic visit to create, all of these business deals and business partnerships and commitments with some of those leaders in the Middle East, such as the Crown Prince in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, etc. And so, as we look at that deal as to why he was laying the groundwork, not only for weakening Iran with their nuclear capabilities, but as well bringing forth the peace, I think there's a side of this, it even began in his first administration, where he wants to make sure that these younger generations of some of the Arab nations see a plan by which they can have some of the prosperity, some of these AI deals, all of the technology, and join in with this. And so the way that this came about just strikes me that it was brilliant, because it was not with a show of force, military force. It was really showing a pathway, I believe, a pathway to all of these younger leaders, upcoming, leaders, new generations, to say, we can forge peace through prosperity and bring this prosperity to Arab nations. Do you know what I'm saying, Ruthie? And I want to just focus on this for a moment and get your take on it, because I wondered at the time what Israel, for example, thought about the fact when Trump visited months ago, early in this administration, and was talking about all these incredible business deals with some of the leaders of the Arab nations. Do you see that as part of this paving the path for the possibility of a lasting peace in the Middle East?
Oh, definitely. First of all, it's paving the path. But I have to say that Israelis, the Israeli left for decades was saying, peace through prosperity, meaning, if you just give Palestinians work permits and you just show them that they can have a flourishing society, that will make us have peace. And we saw that wasn't true. If you take bin Laden as an example, he was perfectly wealthy and all that. I mean, terrorism is not a result of poverty, so let's start with that. Mm-hmm. Number two, President Trump was absolutely right. His visit to these countries was very different from President Obama's visit to the Middle East in 2009, when he went to Egypt and he addressed a whole audience of the Muslim Brotherhood. And so the other Egyptians all walked out. In other words, he was courting the bad guys, and President Trump is doing the opposite. However, and it's also true that Trump, we see, he speaks with flowery language, but he's not fooled. I don't think he's fooled by Qatar, for example, that has been funding all the anti-American protests across U.S. campuses, and not just anti-Semitic ones, but, all those movements, the Black Lives Matter movement, movement, etc. These are all backed by Qatar and various NGOs that are funded by Qatar and universities that get huge grants from Qatar. So I don't believe that Trump is fooled that Qatar is suddenly a peace-loving entity. I think that what you're seeing between Trump and Netanyahu is a kind of carrot and stick approach. Also notice, it's not a small thing that President Trump turned the name of the Defense Department to the War Department, reverting it back to what it used to be called. That's not a small thing, because I think the indication is America first, America strong, as he says, peace through strength, and that means victory, as we saw in the operation against Iran. He mentioned that in his speech to the Knesset as well. Again, a joint operation. Israel started it. President Trump finished it with the B-2 bombers. So I think what he's saying is, you guys in the Middle East, you should opt for modernity. You should opt for having successful societies over barbarism. And this is your choice, but make no mistake, if you opt for barbarism, we're at the ready to defeat you.
Yes, and so then the question becomes, as we look forward, what happens with, the recognition that we've seen, for example, the UK recently recognizing the so-called Palestinian state. There were a lot of questions to President Trump about that. And he was, saying he was putting that off and saying, I'm not talking about that right now. But how do you analyze this when you look at what's happening, how to make it happen? For example, would there be, I don't know, are they talking about having an election? Because we had heard that Hamas, the last election was 20 years ago or something. And so that's, I think, the big question. How do they carry this out? And at the same time, rebuilding the area, which just is a war zone. I mean, it looks like a construction site.
Right. Okay. So first of all, I'll just say the bottom line in my case is that I don't think there's ever going to be a Palestinian state. Yeah. Okay. And when I say ever, I mean in my lifetime. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. Because it takes 2 generations to de-radicalize both. It's not just Gaza. You understand that the Palestinian Authority that's considered supposedly moderate, the moderates among the Palestinians, are not moderate at all. They fund terrorism. They pay stipends to terrorists, including Hamas terrorists. The school books teach jihad and martyrdom and murder. They celebrate terrorism. They celebrated October 7th. So, and I would like to, again, compare this to the Biden and Obama administrations. After the Abraham Accords, in President Trump's first term, when he brokered the Abraham Accords, and it was really beautiful, and the beautiful part about it was that it was the first time that leaders said it's not dependent on Palestinian statehood first. Okay, it was a huge diversion. And Netanyahu had always said peace in the Middle East shouldn't have to go through Ramallah or Gaza. No, that's separate. They can join. They're welcome to join the Abraham Accords, but it isn't dependent on them. The left has always said you can never have, John Kerry used to say, no, without it, you can never have peace. And the Abraham Accords proved that to be false. So what did the Biden administration do? First thing when it came into office, there was a summit in the Negev for the Abraham Accords representatives and Israel. And the Biden administration immediately stepped in and said, okay, let's invite the Palestinians. Let's do. In other words, they were already trying to go back to the old worldview that they had. So the main thing that's important here, I understand why Trump said that, because he didn't want to say no to a Palestinian state. What he and Netanyahu both have said all along and meant really is not to a terror state. And what we know in Israel is that to de-radicalize a society, look, these children are raised, you can't even blame them. A child who is raised on this disgusting jihadist ideology doesn't know any better. You will have to change what is being taught in the schools, what is being preached in the mosques, and they have sports teams named after martyrs. You have to de-radicalize that society. And then it won't be the same thing. I think, at that point you could change its name. It shouldn't be not a Palestinian state, something else. That's all. And in the meantime, what I think Trump is trying to do is saying to all these other Arab countries and Turkey, which isn't Arab, but it is Muslim. Now, it's also Islamist, unfortunately, and Turkey hates Israel and hates Jews and all that. Now, again, that's not to say that he shouldn't be trying to forge this coalition, because what he's doing is saying, hey, you guys, choose this or that. And if you choose the good life and you choose this, it involves also making peace with Israel. And we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But we're really thrilled to have President Trump is the best friend Israel ever had in the White House. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah. And the fact that and that's kind of what I was going for, because a lot of times, we know that President Trump, he's my president. I think most of you watching and listening, this is what you voted for, right? But President Trump was very careful yesterday not to even entertain those questions, to your astute point, Ruthie Bloom, that he did bring together, convincing, like you're saying, Erdogan, Turkey, Egypt, Pakistan, other Muslim nations, Arab nations. But with Jared Kushner, I think, his son-in-law in his early 40s, kind of appealing to the next generation, who I think were, most of them, Western educated. A lot of them went to college here in the States, right? And so appealing to them to say, let's bring forth the next generation, bring forth a new Middle East that is modern and that does not support exactly what you're saying, Ruthie Bloom, that they want a new day. They want this peace and prosperity. And it allows them to put the pressure on the region rather than the US of A being resented of overreaching into the Middle East.
Absolutely. But again, one caveat here.
Yes.
And this isn't a criticism of Jared Kushner by any means. Okay. He's done amazing things. But when you say, he's young and it's a new spirit, don't forget, so is Mamdani young. And that is appealing to the basest instincts of the young. So you got to always be careful when you talk about, hey, the young, or, there are a lot of Israelis who like to say that the reason that Trump loves Israel is that he has Jewish grandchildren. And I say, oh, really? You know how many American Jews I know have Jewish grandchildren who are terrible? They're terrible politically. So to me, that's not a sign. In fact, if you say someone's Jewish or has Jewish, children, you got to say, uh-oh, he's a Democrat. So when you say that Jared Kushner is young, I don't necessarily think that that's a strike in his favor, you see.
Yeah, well, I will say this, to your point, Mamdani, what has he ever done? He's been in New York. He's been in the assembly for 4 years. He talks a good game. For Jared Kushner, he took over his family business. He was in his early 20s and was accomplished before President Trump ever came into office. So to your point, I think he had to grow up fast as somebody who had to take over. But I think you bring up a great point. Every person is different, and it's not just that number, if you will. So you have so much wisdom, Ruthie. How's your last question, just how's your family doing? Because you've been through it. We talked to you and, your son, and they were in bomb shelters and so on. How's everybody doing?
It's absolutely. Well, my son is about to complete hopefully his final 6th stint in reserves. He spent the better part of these 2 years on the other side of this hostage crisis, meaning he was in uniform fighting in Gaza to find them. And finally, I believe that next week he's actually coming home, finally. And again, his children, they were in bomb shelters during the Iran raid. And then we had Houthi missiles. We haven't had, I don't want to arouse the evil eye here.
Knock on wood.
We haven't had a Houthi missile in a few days. And my family is doing much better. But I will say the entire country is in a kind of post-trauma. Yeah. And if you think about it, we had those 3 years of COVID, right? So the kids were all, back and forth, school lockdown, school on Zoom, which is ridiculous. It was awful with this isolation. And then there was a little break, and then the war. Then October 7th happened. Israel is a country that is in such post-trauma. No matter who you are here, you either have a family member who is a hostage or a soldier or someone killed or something. I mean, it's just incredible. My son had to go to several funerals of his comrades in arms, and so I think that what's going to happen now is there may be, when you're in danger, you kind of rally yourself. Yes. You pick yourself up and and afterwards there's a huge sinking in. I think when you get back to a routine, there's a danger of depression. An onset of mass depression. So I think we all have to be aware of that.
Yeah. Keep everybody in our prayers. Ruthie Bloom, thank you so much. We sure appreciate you, all of your wisdom, all of your insights, and we're glad that you and your family are safe. Thanks, Ruthie.
Thank you, Dawn. It's always great talking to you.
It's a real blessing. Ruthie Bloom, and journalist, star of JNS TV. Catch her Israel Undiplomatic, JNS TV. We always appreciate her time and just incredible insights as well. Listen, around the corner, we'll talk to the family attorney of the late Ellen Greenberg. This is in the Philadelphia courts again today. So we'll talk to the family attorney for the Greenbergs. And if you haven't seen the documentary, we'll talk about that as well. But an incredible Philadelphia story. Parents who want justice for their daughter in her 20s, a school teacher, and the report. The ME report that originally said she was stabbed to death and murdered, and then 2 weeks later was suddenly changed. What? Yes, we'll have the update. It's an important one right here, making national headlines. Stay tuned.
Red is the only color that matters this October. It's a Red October sales event here at Colonial Hyundai. Hi, it's John Ashaw, the Car Czar. Now through October 31st, every vehicle on our lot is red tagged with deals guaranteeing a walk-off win. Step up to the plate and drive home your choice of a new Hyundai Palisade, Santa Fe, or the award-winning Tucson for just $199 per month. That's right, just $199 per month only at Colonial Hyundai. Now's not the time to strike out with your trade. Colonial Hyundai will give you top dollar. In fact, I'll give you $6,500 for your trade guaranteed no matter the condition. And every new Hyundai comes with a Gold Glove guarantee, America's best warranty, a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain, and Hyundai Assurance. Hurry in before the final pitch of the season to Colonial Hyundai of Downtown, or shop us online 24/7 at colonialhyundai.com. Colonial Hyundai, the faster, easier, better way to buy a Hyundai.
In stock vehicles only. Lease Tier 1 credit through HMF. 10,000 miles per year. 10% down plus first payment, tax, tags, and fees. See dealer for
Attention Medicaid patients.
If you're on Medicaid, how would you like if your caretaker was your daughter, your son, your grandchild, or your close friend? If you're on Medicaid, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care, and that caregiver will get paid instantly after their shift. Yes, your caregiver will get paid instantly. This service is available based on Medicaid eligibility. Call 267-692-3782 and ask Freedom Care how to get started with care today. No more worrying about getting care from an aide at an agency. Freedom Care helps you choose who you want to take care of you, and that person gets paid. Call Freedom Care at 267-692-3782. That's 267-692-3782. To get started today, you get a caregiver you know and trust, and they get paid instantly after their shift, and it's free to you. Start now by calling 267-692-3782, 267-692-3782, or go to freedomcare.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/radio for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
Now that the summer wind has come and gone, come fly with me to the Philly Pops for Luck Be a Lady, the music of Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett. Hi, I'm Eddie Bruce. Join me and fellow vocalist Kelly LeVeque alongside the incredible musicians of the Philly Pops as we celebrate two of the greatest voices of all time. Don't miss this incredible performance, an unforgettable night of swinging standards, classic hits, and rich arrangements. Tickets are going fast. Visit phillypops.org today.
Hi, this is Larry Steinhaus, and I want to let you know that I buy houses. I buy houses from people that may be a tired landlord, maybe somebody who's having trouble selling their house, or maybe someone who needs to sell their house quickly. Well, all you need to do is call 855-939-1137. That's 855-939-1137, and I promise to answer the phone and help you with your situation. That's right, your house may be cluttered. It may be a house that a relative left you, or it may just be a house you just want to get rid of. 855-939-1137.
For more expert appliance shopping advice, here's National Appliance Warehouse's own appliance guru.
Hello, let's talk about prices. At National Appliance Warehouse, we have billions in buying power that we leverage in order to pass dramatic savings to our customers. We're passionate about offering the lowest price, so we developed Price Assured to ensure we always are. Price Assured uses powerful technology to scan chain store prices online and make sure ours is lower. Because Price Assured is connected to electronic tags throughout the showroom, it's able to update them instantly if an adjustment is needed. Our customers enjoy great service that rivals that of a small independent. While shopping with confidence, they're seeing the lowest possible price.
It's time to fall into savings at National Appliance Warehouse. There's still time to enjoy huge savings on GE appliances. Save up to 35% on select GE appliances. Browse an unmatched collection of GE, Cafe, GE Profile, and Monogram appliances. Click nationalappliancewarehouse.com or visit their showroom in tax-free Wilmington today.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-979-3168. 800-979-3168. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-979-3168.
Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3, Philadelphia. Always live on the free Odyssey app. From the Piazza Auto Group Studios, experience the power of one with 8 brands and 25 locations. Live and local from Philadelphia. The Dawn Stensland Show on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT.
Help! I need an emergency now. My fiance's on the floor with blood everywhere. Please hurry. There's a knife sticking out of her heart. Oh no! Oh no!
It was January of 2011 when Greenberg was discovered dead by her fiancé. She suffered more than 20 stab wounds. Philadelphia medical examiner initially ruled Greenberg's death a homicide before switching it to suicide.
That is just a clip of the 3-part docuseries on Hulu, Death in Apartment 603. What happened to Ellen Greenberg? This is a beautiful young teacher in her 20s who was stabbed to death. Her parents have cried foul, have cried for answers, cried for justice. And this docuseries, one of the reasons I think we've all perhaps reopened the case in our minds and hearts, not just here in Philadelphia, but this is making national news, as this is a case that is in the courts today in Philadelphia, as Ellen Greenberg's parents, well, at least the attorney representing them, has blasted the latest Emmys report as deeply flawed. This family has suffered deeply. These parents grieving just want justice. And so this morning, I'm honored here by the Greenberg family attorney. This is William Trask, who joins me this morning to bring us up to date on a story that has captivated so many of us. I want to welcome in now William Trask. Thank you so much for joining me today to just talk about what's going on here. Good morning.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I know this is in the courts today. I've been reporting it from 6 o'clock, since 6 o'clock this morning, as we saw after a judge ordered for the autopsy to be reviewed once again. And then it came out and was a shock to many, the latest, that the ME comes out and says the official cause of death here is that this was, in fact, a homicide, a suicide, not a homicide, as it was originally reported. I mean, there's a lot of flip-flopping here and a lot of details, I think, lost in the shuffle as people try to wrap their brains around, first and foremost, to be stabbed more than 20 times, to do that yourself. It just seems to defy common sense. There are many in the community who question all of this. And then just think about this poor family and the parents grieving their daughter and trying to wrap their brains around it. So, I mean, first of all, how are Mr. and Mrs. Greenberg as they try to cope with this? And then beyond that, can you bring us up to date as far as what's going to happen with the court today and moving forward?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. I mean, obviously, this is devastating for the Greenbergs. Although I wish I could say it was completely unexpected. I think after the last almost 15 years of dealings with the city, the Greenbergs have lost faith in the objectivity of Philly law enforcement. So, in that sense, I think all of us were expecting that this would be another attempt to sweep Ellen's death under the rug. So, we weren't terribly surprised. It is a little disheartening, however, to see how poorly an effort they made of it. The report is just a disaster, an embarrassment.
Yeah, and part of this is, for example, I'll say what struck me was that there were first of all, the first medical examiner, what's strange, had ruled this as the multiple stabbings, also bruising that happened, that this was a homicide. Then 2 weeks later, changes that and says, no, it's suicide. So it wasn't as if that was an original, determination from the original ME. And so then you go through the years, but there are specialists even who say, in particular, and I wanted to focus in on this one if I could, and that is that there was what appeared to be what is a post-mortem wound. And how do you explain the fact that you have at least one of these stabbing wounds that clearly was post-mortem, meaning she was already deceased? How does that get explained?
It really doesn't. In the report, she conflates it with another wound and tries to claim that based on her review of the autopsy materials, that wound was an artifact of autopsy, meaning it was a slip of the knife, a mistake made by Dr. Osborne when he conducted the autopsy. But of course, all of the specialists who have looked at this case, including those who have actually examined the specimen in question under a microscope, have concluded that this was not an artifact of autopsy. The stab wound through the vertebral column was a bona fide sharp force injury from an attack. and the ME has not addressed that. So I don't know how she gets away with just kind of sweeping that aside in her report, given the findings of Dr. Emery, the former neuropathologist for the City of Philadelphia ME's office, and the family's expert, Dr. Ross, who were the only people who looked at this specimen under a microscope and concluded that it hadn't bled and had most likely been administered post-mortem.
And so in this one, and I would encourage people to watch the documentary, which is docu-series, I should say, which is incredible. But, this takes us back. Ellen Greenberg, she was in her 20s, 27 years young, a school teacher. And this was January of 2011 and found, inside her Philadelphia apartment by her fiance at the time, Sam Goldberg. I guess, part of my question is, as part of this, was Goldberg, re-questioned or anything of that nature, or was it just reevaluating the autopsy report?
It's my understanding from reading the report, and again, I don't have any background information on it. We haven't had an opportunity to question Dr. Simon about her report. But based on the report, she just went back over and, looked at the reports that were prepared back then. And then also reviewed the reports that we had provided her from experts over the years who had been retained by the family. So there was no effort to really dig into this and conduct her own thorough investigation. It reads to me like an effort to just, marshal whatever evidence she could to support the city's earlier suicide determination, omit or distort any other evidence that, cast doubt on that conclusion, and, issue this report to put it into it.
Yeah. And for this, what's really going on here? I mean, this seems, we get so many calls, we get so many comments. This is making national headlines now. I imagine that you and the family do appreciate there's a docu-series so that people can, even across the nation, can see this. I think there's something within America. We all want justice. One of our most loyal, viewers and listeners here at Talk Radio 1210 WPHT, and if you're watching along on YouTube, John, who identifies as Road Warrior, his name on social media, but he's asking, for example, was a microscopy, was that done on the post-mortem wounds?
It was done by Dr. Lindsay Emery, the neuropathologist who was employed by the City of Philadelphia, not at the time of Ellen's autopsy, but later, and conducted her own review microscopically, histologically, and determined that there was no vital response to that wound. And that was why her conclusion had been, during her deposition, our litigation, that the most likely explanation was Ellen was already dead when it was administered. It was also, slides of that specimen were provided to the Greenberg's expert who did his own microscopic review and came to the same conclusion. There was no microscopic review that I can glean from this report that would have been done by Dr. Simon. Even though she has the specimen in her possession at the Philly ME's office, she just relied on, prior statements and reports prepared by others in this litigation.
Nowadays, so this was, like you said, it was 14, almost 15 years ago. Is there, you think about the technology, even in the past 5 years, you think about the crime lab technology and all of that. Is there any chance that they would even look back, or do they still have specimens or anything? Because we do hear that sometimes, DNA testing, that sort of thing, where they could take these into a crime lab and do retesting thanks to some of the new technology that's now available that would not have been available back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the issues that we had raised early on was whether the knife had been disassembled, right, to look for DNA evidence. They looked for DNA of the knife, and she claims in her report to have found none. And there was certainly none found in the initial DNA tests that were run back in 2011. But, who knows what you find when you take the knife apart. Although, I don't know how conclusive that is, because Ellen wasn't the only person who used that knife. So,
right.
But the other issue, say, for example, is fingerprints. We had asked for a fingerprint analysis of the knife. And we were told by the city throughout all the years of litigation that no fingerprint analysis had been done. And there's a reference to a fingerprint analysis in her report, which just says that there were, a couple of unreadable fingerprints on the knife, suggesting to us that it was white. I mean, how does someone, if they stab themselves 23 times, not leave a fingerprint on the knife? Well, if the knife was white, if the handle was white, I think that demonstrates staging of a crime scene by an assailant. That's a serious question that needs to be investigated, and one that just gets glossed over in this report.
So what happens today in court? I mean, you have a judge who has expressed that she has been impatient with the length of, this investigation and wanted this report in court. Now that the appearance or the report is supposed to be presented to the judge, I presume. What can you give us a sense of today's proceedings?
I'm not really sure how today's going to go. Yeah. Today's proceedings were initially intended to have the medical examiner appear and disclose her findings to us and the family and the court, and give the court an opportunity to discuss those findings with the ME. This report was released in advance of that, potentially so that the ME won't have to appear, or so that she can at least appear and say, look, here are my findings, to try to shortcut some of that for the hearing. I don't know, how the judge is going to accept it, whether she will have read this report already. I really don't know what to expect today. We'll just have to sort of play it by ear.
Yeah, and I would imagine it's pretty hurtful that usually they call it victim blaming, but in the headlines, I know at least locally, that the ME was being quoted as talking about the victim here, the victim, Ellen Greenberg, her quote unquote anxiety, and giving maybe a motive for suicide. I find that, is that unusual for a medical exam? I think of all my years of crime reporting, and I don't recall a medical examiner referring to a victim's quote unquote anxiety. It was usually based on looking at the nature of the stab wounds or the scientific evidence at the scene, those types of evaluations.
Yeah, I don't know how common or uncommon it is. I do know that it's really insulting to the family and to Ellen's memory to blame her when there's no conclusive evidence that she suffered from anxiety so severely that she would have done this. Right. We assumed that the medical examiner would look at the medical evidence and the forensic evidence. She acknowledges that the security lock on the door was still attached to the door, but she never acknowledges the significance of that, right? That the door couldn't have been forced open, as her report seems to accept without criticism. She dismisses the inconsistent blood pattern evidence, the evidence that Ellen's body had been moved, as inconclusive because there wouldn't have been enough time between Ellen's death and the first responders arriving to have staged the scene, at least not well enough for trained investigators not to have noticed. But those same trained investigators never determined Ellen's time of death. So how long was Ellen dead before the first responders arrived? No one knows. The ME certainly doesn't know. And these are the same trained investigators who didn't notice that Ellen had been stabbed 10 times from behind. The same trained investigators who released the crime scene and destroyed all of the evidence. So, this report is full of sort of nonsensical conclusions like that with no basis on the evidence, and instead takes the tack of blaming Ellen and her, alleged mental state as being the cause of her death, which is just insulting.
I can't even imagine what Mr. and Mrs. Greenberg have been through, and I imagine you as a family attorney, William, that you've now, you've become close with the family. What is going to happen next for these parents who simply want something conclusive, something tangible, and certainly want justice? And it's obvious from everything you're saying, and even Road Warrior, who I should have said, by the way, is a veteran homicide detective investigator, has spent years studying these cases and, is sounding off on our YouTube chat, but as well, he's somebody who testifies in court. And I think there are a lot of people who just want justice. What's next for the Greenbergs and for you as you try to guide them through this really uncharted territory here?
Yeah, well, look, I can't really comment publicly on what our plans are moving forward, but certainly we have them. I think, the Philadelphia authorities have demonstrated that they have no interest in finding the truth here. Somebody has a greater interest in making sure that it never comes out. So, we intend to pursue other avenues, and we'll continue to fight just as the Greenbergs have been fighting for the last 15 years. We'll fight for another 15 if we have to get justice for Ellen. Well,
William Trask, thank you so much for joining us. We have an extremely loyal, supportive audience. I think everybody's with you this morning, and we've been talking about this throughout the morning, beginning at 6 o'clock with the news. So we hope to continue to get these updates and follow you. And certainly Mr. and Mrs. Greenberg are in our prayers as they just try to fight for justice and their daughter's death. It's an unbelievable story, and no parent should have to go through this. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. William Trask, family attorney there. So obviously with an attorney, we have, confidentiality. There's a lot that he cannot say. But and thank you, Dan, for, Dan Borowski setting this up, and as well looking at, some of the scene videos and images and what they're dealing with. Will the judge be satisfied with this 32-page report? That's another question. And then can they get it out of the Philadelphia courts? In other words, is there a pathway when you have something like this whereby you say, this doesn't belong in this particular local courtroom? So can we get it out of this court to a more objective type situation where then you can look at the lab work, the science. That's what I see here. I know Road Warrior, and we really appreciate you. I'm looking at all of your comments as far as re-examining the pictures, but I would imagine a piece of this has to be that you get all of the evidence that was gathered and try to reenact the scene, try to test every little drop of everything that they found. I know that's expensive and both costly in money and time, but this case, Ellen Greenberg deserves it.
Yeah. It's such a sad story.
Oh my God.
And the documentary, we were playing a little footage of there, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. Go check it out, and we'll keep our finger on the pulse of this case. And I told William, just any updates, let us know, and we'll get them right on.
Yeah, we want to stay on this and follow this, but I know there are all kinds of allegations, but the point here in any one of these cases, we always say follow the science, and I think, and that's what John Road Warrior, thank you, with your level of expertise to reevaluate the photos. But even that, I think you got to go back. You got to put this to the laboratory. You have to retest every single thing because, to my knowledge, nobody has done that in nearly 15 years. So think about the technology upgrades that we've seen, in 5 years, let alone 15. Yeah. I would think that if you put that everything that was taken from that crime scene, you put it back through a lab and you test it, I would imagine that, right? Yeah. You're going to have then tangible evidence and some conclusive answers, or at least, pieces of that puzzle that you can put together, whereby before they were saying inconclusive. But
you see Road Warrior's comment?
So
he says, call me, Dawn.
Call me.
No.
Call me.
Road Warrior, you call us.
Can you call in?
Yeah, we got some time next segment.
Right?
We'd love to hear your analysis.
Yeah, I would love to hear what you have to say about it. I should have had John on the phone, for crying out loud. He'll end up cracking the case.
For real, yeah.
But I also think it's important, it's important that everybody has this case on our radar, because in every one of these, you talk about cold cases and bringing them back alive, and that's really a piece of this. It's just us putting the pressure on the system and not letting it go. So hoorah, we've got this. So I have to take a break.
We do, yeah.
I have mentioned a couple times this morning And I love Charlie Kirk, and I started out the whole morning by saying, happy birthday in heaven, Charlie Kirk. So that's not lost on any of us that this would have been Charlie's 32nd birthday. And thinking about his parents.
For him? Would you mind?
Pardon me?
A little dedication to him. Would you mind?
YouTube. No, I know that you put this together, Dan.
Well, I got it off. I don't want to turn credit. It came from TikTok, but it's just beautiful. And just a couple minutes or a couple seconds of it just to celebrate Charlie's birthday. YouTube.com/@1210WPHT. What we're seeing here is just footage of the relationship between him and Erica as it developed, and the love that they shared, and just
and with their little ones,
and just
with the babies.
Just is sad to look back, but now,
and here they are, and I mean, with the baby, and they were so careful as parents, as I know you and your wife will be, even though they were very public people and loved. And you think of Turning Point USA and their faith, their church, and then as well, he was at the RNC and was a Trump supporter, as you well know. As public people, though, they were very protective of their young children's identity. And always you see the backs of their heads, the kids, I mean, that they wanted to protect their children.
I think that's already started a huge trend of the generation now of, because there's a lot of conversation as to whether or not to, expose the identity of your children on social media, and he had a fantastic solution. But just one of many things that this guy's legacy will leave upon a generation.
There's one that I love. I don't know. I could never name my favorite Charlie Kirk clip, but there's one where they're at a restaurant. He and Erica are at a restaurant, and their daughter's being a little fussy, and he's playing, with the toy, and he's throwing it up and down, and an apple, I think, and he's kind of tossing it up and down. He's talking about science and Newton and the theories of science, but his face as his daughter is in a high chair at the table, and you can hear her even though you can't see her face, and he's at one point sort of covers his face with his napkin, because you know how kids, you're trying to be a serious parent and be a disciplinarian, but he's so tickled with because she's fussing, you know what I mean? She's fussing, and he's trying to let mommy eat her food at the table, and those moments, I mean, it makes you laugh, it makes you cry, and he was just so darn adorable. Yeah. I just loved him as a human being.
I hear you guys talk about Charlie and just the way that he brought people back into church. And I got to say, Maisie and I, we've started going back. We found a church we like, and
it's beautiful.
Yeah. Especially with the little one coming.
Yeah.
I do have that video you were talking about of Charlie with his daughter.
This is
I'm
precious.
tuning it up right now. You see me on the computer there.
But it's just one of the many videos where you see his personal side.
Yeah.
Just an adorable young family.
Here's that one, Dawn.
Very important. Sir Isaac Newton fell asleep underneath a tree.
It's about to be your life, Dan Borowski.
And then an apple hit him. Kind of like this. So then he came up with the 3 laws. Okay, see, that's the issue. Is you keep on thinking when you
She's about to drop her sippy cup, and Daddy catches it.
Okay.
Boom, he puts the sippy cup on the table.
The 3 laws of Newtonian physics. You're going to be quizzed on this later.
She's going to throw it again.
An object at rest will stay at rest.
Oh, now he takes it away.
For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Wait for it. Now she's.
If I push it, it goes
through. Daddy's playing. Oh, now he covers his mouth because he's trying not to laugh.
Equals mass times acceleration. Any questions?
It's one of my faves. And you notice I could do the play-by-play because I've watched this and cried like I can't 100 times. Yeah. We love you, Charlie. Happy birthday in heaven.
My name is Barbara Panzano. I live in Hatboro, Pennsylvania. It's really important to get involved with Crash Proof sooner rather than later. You're going to make more than you ever made in the stock market. With Crash Proof, I actually made double digits in 2 of my accounts. One was over 20% and one was over 13%. Unbelievable returns for my first year. And the best thing is, with this volatile market, it's not going to affect me. I know that I'm guaranteed my principal. The double-digit returns that I earned will never be taken away. With the tariffs and a potential trade war, it's going to be a very rough year. But I won't be experiencing any of that pain because I'm involved in crash-proof retirement. I have peace of mind, and I don't have to stay up worrying about it at night anymore.
Schedule an appointment or register for our next event at the William Penn Inn on November 5th. 800-722-9728 or crashproofretirement.com.
Hey, it's Rich Zioli. When it comes to protecting your home, trust matters. Trust is everything. That's why I use and only recommend Emmons Roofing and Siding. They've been doing it right for over 35 years. Emmons is family-owned, local, and reliable. So whether you need roofing, siding, windows, or doors, Emmons has you covered. And as an Owens Corning Platinum contractor, they offer lifetime warranties on the roof. So call 855-4-EMMONS or visit callemmons.com today. Peace of mind is just a call away. Tell them I sent you.
Up to $3,000 above KBB is based on KBB excellent trade-in condition. Deductions apply for damage, reconditioning, excessive wear and tear, and above average miles. Get paid to trade. At KiaofCherryHill.com, we're offering up to $3,000 over Kelley Blue Book trade-in value for your current vehicle. Get up to $3,000 more for your trade. But that's not all. Shop our massive selection of tariff-free Kias. Upgrade your ride today at KiaofCherryHill.com. That's KiaofCherryHill.com.
Everyone has a fave Wendy's Frosty flavor. And when you're choosing from chocolate or vanilla, it's not that hard. But now, there's all new Frosty Swirls and Frosty Fusions. So try picking your fave from Oreo Brownie Fusion, Pop-Tarts Strawberry Fusion, Strawberry Swirl, Brownie Batter Swirl, Caramel Swirl, and Caramel Crunch Fusion. Not so easy now, huh? For a fresh way to Frosty, gotta be Wendy's. Open till midnight or later.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary by location. Oreo is a trademark of Mondelez International Group. Pop-Tarts is a trademark of Kellogg North America Co., LLC. Used with permission.
This is Jordan Lundy of Lundy Law. When we say we hope you're never injured in a slip and fall accident, we mean it. But if you should suffer a slip and fall injury, we'll work quickly to get you the maximum compensation you deserve. And we mean it when we say there are never any upfront fees, ever, and we only get paid when your case is over and you get paid. Remember our name, Lundy Law. Your injury lawyers. Call 1-800-LUNDY-LAW or visit lundylaw.com.
Harry, if you watch any more of those stupid financial shows, I'm filing for divorce.
How am I going to keep up with our retirement accounts?
At JML Financial Group, we want you watching your grandkids playing soccer and sunsets in Hawaii, not the latest rumor of a market crash. Surprisingly, with proper income planning, the stock market shouldn't even be a concern. The money came in every 2 weeks while you worked. It should be the same in your retirement years. Let us show you how. Call JML Financial Group today at 856-925-6674. That's 856-925-6674. Or at jmlfinancialgroup.com. So, when your neighbor's sunbathing in the front yard,
Harry, you're an idiot. Get away from the window.
keep your eyes focused where they should be, on enjoying your retirement. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Brokers International Financial Services, LLC, member SIPC. Brokers International Financial Services, LLC is not an affiliated company.
Hey, it's Mike Quick. It's time to cut your old point-of-sale systems and revolutionize your business with PDQ POS. Joe Flynn and his team at PDQ have been the industry leaders for over 35 years. They offer everything from mobile POS to self-serve kiosks and the best service and support in the industry. For the fastest, easiest, and most reliable POS available, trust PDQ POS. No matter how many locations you have, they'll build a custom solution for your business. Visit PDQPOS.com.
Hey, Joe DeCamry here. Fall into savings right now at United Tire and Service. When you buy any 4 tires, they'll help you winterize your vehicle. Bring your car in today and save an extra $25 on any winterization, oil change, or alignment. The team at United Tire cares just as much about your car as you do. So why would you take your car anywhere else? Find your locally owned United Tire and Service location at UnitedTire.com. That's UnitedTire.com for the best tire prices and the best service don't drive alone, drive united.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit information kit. 800-384-9393. That's 800-384-9393.
We know you're uncertain about psychics. Is this fortune teller you found on a forum legit?
Your one true love is... me!
That's why California Psychics reject 98% of the psychics who apply to work with us. We guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. New customers receive 20 minutes for just $20. So experience the joy of certainty at CaliforniaPsychics.com. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
Fall is in the air. The leaves are turning, the games are on, and love is in season. If you're thinking about getting engaged, now's the perfect time to visit Cozy Jewelers in Newtown Square. This family-owned jeweler has been helping couples for 35 years with stunning rings, expert guidance, and custom in-house designs. And when it comes to the perfect ring, don't forget the 5th C. Cut, color, clarity, carat, and cozy. Make this fall unforgettable with Cozy Jewelers.
Just like our offensive line protects our star quarterback, plumbers protect the health of the nation, and Philadelphia Plumbers Union Local 690 is no different. In hospitals, commercial, industrial, and residential, with the best trained plumbers in the world, you can be sure your project is done on time and on budget, no matter how big or small. So when your business needs to build new or expand existing facilities, you can count on the members of Plumbers Union Local 690. Visit plumber690.org.
Weather sponsored by Moderna. The nasty stormy conditions of today should ease tomorrow. Some sprinkles in the morning, but the high will get up to 68. We'll get to 66 on Wednesday with a little more sun. More sun and complete sun on Thursday and Friday with a high of 64.
Mnexspike COVID-19 vaccine mRNA by Moderna has arrived. To learn more and find it near you, visit mnexspike.com. That's MNEXSPIKE.com.
Now you can listen to Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the iHeartRadio app.
We're thinking of Charlie Kirk. It would have been his 32nd birthday this October 14th today, which of course is why President Trump sped up that visit yesterday. The peace mission in the Middle East, mission accomplished, at least for phase 1 there. But now this afternoon, President Trump will honor Charlie Kirk posthumously, obviously, on his birthday, October 14th. If you haven't already, I went on the 10th when Charlie was our American icon, when he was assassinated that day. I went on Turning Point USA. I made a $10 a month donation and got my Freedom T-shirt, but just in his honor to support Turning Point USA. So in whatever way that is, social media, I know many of you attended. I wasn't able to, unfortunately, attend some of the candlelight vigils that happened within the first days and the first weekend, but my friend Teresa Davenport surely was in South Jersey. Teresa, good morning. I know that it's a bittersweet kind of day as we think about Charlie Kirk, and his influence continues to live on in America. I know that you had sent us video that we aired actually the Monday after that because you attended one of the many candlelight vigils just in his honor after his murder.
Yes. It was a very lovely ceremony, and I wish him a happy heavenly birthday. I still can't believe it, that he is gone. And I watched their video just now, and it brought tears to my eyes to think of those two little babies not being with their father, growing up with him, because my father was the world to me, and that's just sad. But I commend President Trump for doing what he's doing today with the medal. I think that's great. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful way to celebrate Charlie, his life. I mean, he would have been 32 today, but you think of all of his accomplishments and the fact that Erica, his widow, can now carry on the mission as so many of his friends, and we've been talking to some of them just why they now more than ever want to carry on his mission and his evangelism, if you will. You think about. Go ahead.
No, I think it's great. The fact that he has just brought so many people back to Jesus into the church is just mind-boggling. I mean, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Really is. It's a beautiful tribute to him, and that's Dan Borowski and I were just saying. I think there were so many people that first Sunday after. I know our church was packed that morning, and I do think that he has awakened, feeling of urgency for all Americans. Go back to church, remember your faith, raise your children in faith, because you never know when that strikes, and so.
Right.
And even we talked yesterday about Hope Danoff, longtime guest on my show, a friend, somebody from the Philadelphia Main Line, just suddenly coming. She had an illness, but we thought, oh, she has a flu bug, whatever. And then, that was a shocker with Hope Danoff, that she just suddenly died and we learned it over the weekend. So it does. I think it makes.
Sorry for your loss.
For all of us here, we were just in tears to think about her and how it just makes every life precious. And when we think about Charlie Kirk, what a great positive energy example he was. And that really brings us to one of the reasons that we wanted to talk to you, Teresa, was, thinking about this story that's making huge headlines. For those of us who are animal lovers, you, Teresa, and your husband, George, obviously huge animal lovers. I love animals. Dan Borowski, I think all of us, Greg Stocker is too. But you and your husband, obviously, is your co-owner at Earthwise Pet Supply and Grooming in South Jersey there in Blackwood. And we were horrified to see this video that now PETA is investigating, and there are investigations into this. As somebody who's a podcaster, not somebody that I really watch his stuff.
Yeah.
But Dan Borowski brought this to our attention. It is an official investigation now. But
it's really an official investigation? That's amazing.
They're looking into this.
Good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So on the other side of the aisle, there are influencers for young people similar to Charlie Kirk that are very bad, I think, for a generation, to be quite honest, including this guy by the name of Hassan Piker.
Especially if you are his dog.
Yeah. And Hassan, he's made a lot of news because Hassan, who's the nephew of Cenk Uygur, I can't pronounce his name ever, the Young Turks guy, and he's actually become one of the biggest streamers of the left, talking about leftist politics. He's been high on the pro-Palestine type rants and such, and here he is going on a rant talking about how much he hates America, and this has gone viral. Even his fans can't defend it. They've kind of attacked him. You've heard PETA. Watch this video. This is him talking about how much he hates America, and watch his pup in the background, how disgusting this is.
Jesus Christ, what are you doing? You're being such a baby. It's just you're making her stressed. She just literally is so incredibly spoiled from my mom.
Oh, weird.
Talking about his dog, first of all.
Yeah, and why did it cut out there? That's weird.
Yeah, sorry.
So what he does is I'll have it at one point during the interview, but he actually shocks his dog behind it, and the dog yelps, and it's become a whole thing that he's defended the use of a shock collar by essentially saying this is a far-right attack, that they're coming after him, and he's justified his use of the shock collar, denied his use of the shock collar, and it's become a whole controversy. PETA now stepping involved, and I just want your thoughts on the use of a shock collar and whether there is a place for it or not.
So shock collars basically are very controversial. It's controversial because there's pros and there's cons to it. Us, and with our business, we discourage this type of training. We encourage the food motivational training because we're more on the holistic end of things. The thing about shock collars, even prong collars and choke collars, I mean, to some people it's considered inhumane, but if you use it improperly, it can be activated automatically or manually. And there's different levels of stimulation. There's tones or vibrations, and then there's the shock. To me, I just don't even agree with it completely. But there are a lot of people that have had positive experiences, and then there's people that have bad experiences. But the experience of the dog is always bad when you're using that type of shock. So, I mean, some of the things that it can cause are, fearfulness. There's a learned helplessness that they get. They get, there's physical pain, there's a psychological distress, and then there's even the fear of training, and then there's an increased aggression. I'll tell you 2 quick stories: psychological distress and the fear of training. Training is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable for a dog. My little guy, when we first got him at 13 weeks old, he would light up when I would say, "We're going to go train now. We're going to play," and because he knew he was getting treats, he knew it was a fun time. Whereas when you're getting shocked, they become helpless. They're like, okay, where did that come from? What's that? If you don't do it right, the way you want to avoid confusing the dog, if you're going to use these types of things, is you want to teach them the basic commands like sit and stay before even using it. This way they know what you're asking them and associate negative behavior with the shock. And but people don't get that. They buy these things, they think they can understand how to use them properly, and they don't. I'll tell you another quick story. Fear of training. What that means is there's a gentleman that basically came into our store, an older gentleman, and he had scars on his face. He was just healing. And we asked him, how you doing? What's going on? And he said, we had to put my dog down. And I said, why? What happened? And he said, well, he attacked me. He says, I was using the shock collar. And the dog was a German Shepherd, and he went after his face. He's lucky that he's alive. So if you don't use it the correct way, it can inspire such aggression to an animal because they're like, no, I'm done with this. I'm tired. I can't deal with this anymore. I mean, they've got feelings. They've got, the pain that they it basically damages, tissues and nerves. It can, injure their thyroid, their salivary glands, and then they can get paralysis in their larynx. There's just so many things that this can do. And, you can't, what's sad is that poor dog now was put down. He was defending himself.
Yes.
Okay. He was defending himself from being zapped constantly.
Hey, Teresa, let's take a look real quick because he found that this is taking you back to the case of Hassan Piker, who denies, by the way, that he used a quote-unquote shock collar, claiming it was a vibration collar. Even his own followers, because he has like 3 million followers, have cried foul, and they're all posting videos where they are saying, no, they have video and things from the past where they suspected he did this. But watch in for yourself.
Mountain in the middle of Norway and get better internet than Los Angeles, California. And this is just like a moment of anger. This is a moment of fucking anger for like something that is just so routine, so silly, such a first world problem. But it is emblematic of all of America's much more consequential violence. Okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just go, just stop.
Reach over. You hear the dog? So he's negative energy. He's
reason as to why America, Kaya, please just go, just stop.
So right when he leans over and you see his left hand move under his desk and make the motion at exactly that moment, he's clearly pushing something. That's where you hear little Kaya go, woof! And Kaya's not a huge dog, No.
So, but he did. Unfortunately, that injected a certain amount of pain for her. And, and he could have, he being so involved in his conversation that he wasn't paying attention to the strength he may have used, because there are different levels. And it sounded like the dog was in distress. And that's so unfair because people, I wish there was more responsibility with pet owners and also understanding the responsibility before they even get a pet. And all of the things that you really need to understand is the emotions that pets have and the feelings that they have and how they actually react to things, and understand that they have feelings too, and they feel pain and they feel love, and there's so many things that they feel. and too many people don't. And then for this gentleman, I don't know if that's the word to use, but for this guy and this influencer to perform something like that on his animal, and I'm sure he probably does it on a regular basis. But again,
that's
I don't
what his
know.
listeners, the people who watch him regularly, Dan started looking at this. They're all posting different times and saying, "Hey, we're putting this together." On the other side, I'm going to say this, Teresa. And that's part of the reason Dan and I wanted to put together this segment, Teresa, is that the truth is I'm somebody with our buddy, not this buddy, our last, because we all end up. Every rescue dog ends up named Buddy. So the one before this buddy, he was he was a huge German Shepherd. He was a rescue, and no fence he'd jump right over the fence. Nothing would contain him. So we had checked this out. We got one of these collars where they put in a zone so that it would give them a zap if they tried to get out of the fence. And we were told this is totally humane. This is not cruel. It's a mild little thing that trains them. And we were, I think, led I think we were given a bill of goods, quite frankly, because we were told this is not painful for them. But Buddy, what he would do is he would take the hit. He would jump through the fence, take the zap. Then he would bark for me to go into the nearby woods, take off the collar. So this was the training of Dawn, where I had to take off the collar because he'd look at me, and because German Shepherds are very vocal, and he'd move his head, and so then I would have to take the collar off, throw it with all my might back into the yard, so he knew that then he wasn't going to have the zap, so it was worthless. And then to add, then you also need teenagers because the teenage guys. I know this is my life. This is my oldest son, Jonathan, my stepson. He and his buddy, Dave Herman, who's now a United States Marine, they said, well, this must be cruel for Buddy to do all that. So we're going to test it out because no dog should have this until the teenage boys test it out. I know. I wish to God I had the video. So there they are in the yard, Teresa, as true dog lovers. And they they're screaming because they tested it and said how highly painful this was. This was not a mild zap. I hope Dave Herman's mom's not listening because Roseanne will not be happy with me. But they did their own consumer testing and they said no. Yeah, should have made like a comedy video, the two of them. Oh my goodness, Teresa! But they determined don't ever do this, so we threw it in the trash, Teresa. That was the end of that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you have to remember is that that's funny. It breaks the bond though between the owner and the pet. And they become fearful of their owner. They don't know what to expect, and dogs remember these kinds of events, and they will eventually become afraid of people if it's a constant thing that happens. And, but like I said, there are responsible people out there that know how to handle it properly.
Yes.
But most people get it and they don't know how to do it or what levels are the proper levels. So, like I said, there's pros and cons, but it's not something that we advocate or encourage in our store. We're on the holistic end of things.
Yeah.
We do the food motivation and training, and it's just a sad situation, but it is out there. It's been around for a long time.
Teresa Davenport, we'll have you back. Earthwise Pet Supply, love you. And George, thanks, Teresa.
Love you too.
My fellow dog
All right,
lover.
thank you.
Teresa, who's the best? We have to take a quick break. Be right back.
You want a roof that doesn't leak. Of course, that's a given. You need a roofing partner with the experience and know-how to ensure the structural integrity and energy efficiency of your roof. Trust PJ Fitzpatrick with their 45 years of experience, thousands of 5-star reviews, and lifetime guarantee on materials and labor. Our professionals install most roofs in just one day. PJ Fitzpatrick has a variety of financing packages that work with any budget. Visit trustpj.com today. That's trustpj.com.
Deborah Heart and Lung Center and Cleveland Clinic Heart Vascular and Thoracic Institute have formed a powerful alliance. Legends in caregiving New Jersey families, the most sophisticated heart team in America. Innovators in research and patient care who've made life better for thousands of patients, raising the standard for the next generation of care. The alliance between Deborah Heart and Lung Center and Cleveland Clinic Heart Vascular and Thoracic Institute means the highest quality care close to home for you. DemandDeborah.org.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. Ever wonder why Big Wireless wants you on an unlimited plan? They probably want you to cover the cost of those 20-somethings using all that data every month. But most people 50 and up like me only use 12 gigs or less. Don't get bamboozled by Big Wireless. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Our plans start at just $20, and we use the same towers as the big guys. Join the millions who choose something better, because if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/fax, or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Who would have thought that finding a Medicare partner you can trust could feel this good? Partnering with HealthSpring means you get Medicare Advantage plans with the benefits you need. Get up to $1,620 back in your Social Security check each year. Want dental, vision, and hearing services? Of course. HealthSpring Medicare Advantage plans mean financial peace of mind and freedom to enjoy life your way. Connect with a local licensed insurance agent for HealthSpring. It'll put a spring in your step. Visit healthspringmedicare.com/radio. That's healthspringmedicare.com/radio. Benefit options vary by plan and service area. You must reside in the plan service area. HealthSpring will reduce your monthly Part B premium based on the plan's specific benefit amount. HealthSpring products and services are provided exclusively by or through operating subsidiaries of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
Listen this Saturday as Penn State battles Iowa. Coverage starts at 6:30 p.m. on the home of Penn State football. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
At PGW, safety is essential to delivering clean, reliable natural gas to Philadelphia homes and businesses. If you smell gas, call PGW at 215-235-1212.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-894-7722. That's 800-894-7722. Again, 800-894-7722.
You've heard me talk about Chapman Windows, Doors, and Siding. I just love the work they've done in my home. They do beautiful, impeccable work. I can tell you that. Maybe you've heard me talk about windows, new doors, siding, stucco remediation. But did you know the Chapman family team, they also do a new roof. Yeah, they do roofs. Same trusted family-owned company that's been serving our community for more than 30 years now can replace your rooftop too. And they do exceptional work. The Chapman family team, they take the time to listen, explain all your options, and they deliver high-quality craftsmanship with all the detail, and that is part of the Chapman difference I've been talking about for years. They also have financing available right now. Your home improvement project can be easier and more affordable than you might think. Call